Well, let's see how this goes. Depending on how the data situation holds up, we might have some connection issues, but I just can't help it. Cannot help it. With all the storms going through and everything else going on, I'm surprised I even have an internet connection still. So, I guess I can't complain too hard. What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Wrongfully muted? Yeah, that's because you keep asking me to sing your rap. I don't know your rap, bro. Like, how can I possibly make, like, I understand the request. You got to understand where I'm coming from. I know you. And we have not connected on any kind of social media, so I have no way to do your rap. Even if I could, in theory, do it. I said my rap 40 times. Oh, well. 40 times and I still didn't see it, you know? I don't know what you want. Like, I don't know. This is the kind of thing that most of the time, if somebody really wanted me to do something like this, they would go to my, what's it called? Discord. They would go to my Discord, which is available on my bio and in some of my video descriptions, and add me and then be like, hey, here's this. And like, this is a whole thing we would have to do collaboratively. Like, without hearing your rap, I wouldn't know what the meter is supposed to be. I wouldn't know what the flow is supposed to be like. So it's just not a request I can do all that easily. Anyway, I decided to repeat the title from the earlier stream today because I realized that because that earlier stream got nuked out of nowhere, there's a good chance that we could have had a conversation along those lines that we didn't end up having, or that we didn't end up having as much of as we could have because the stream got nuked. So, hopefully, now in an environment where we can talk about those things again without getting nuked this time. We'll see how things go. Hi, hello, welcome. You know what fucking stupid song has been stuck in my head for a week now, y'all? You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are the devil in disguise. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. You're the devil in disguise. Oh yes, you are the devil in disguise. Yes, yes, the Presley song. Yep. I don't even like Presley that much, but that song has been stuck in my fucking head on repeat for like a week now. But yeah, lots of stuff going on. Lots of stuff going on in the news right now. Lots of stuff going on out there in the world. Lots of stuff for us to talk about if we want to, and hopefully you guys want to. I remember that song being super popular in 2021. I can't remember the trend though. Yeah, I sort of remember it being popular in 2021, and I cannot remember the reason why either. So it must not have been. It must not have earth-shattering or anything, but yeah, I remember that as well. Oh, Lord have mercy. So earlier, people were asking me about civil war possibilities here in America. People were asking me if the tensions that exist right now are possibly going to lead to some kind of civil war. And I told them earlier, well, I don't really know. And somebody asked, I said, I don't know, but I think it's a possibility. And somebody asked who would win versus the liberals and conservatives. And if we happen to touch on that topic again now, that'll be good for me because I've got more thoughts on that topic that I wanted to add that I didn't get to add earlier due to time constraints. Also, all kinds of takes on the other things going on right now that we didn't really get to talk about. Um, Trump withdrawing from the G7 summit and go on, but it's just going to go on with one less member. So I don't necessarily know how much work can be done in the G7 without America there, considering how important America is to that coalition. But I guess it's going to continue on regardless. I guess it is important that those other countries continue to coordinate as well. So I'm not really, dissatisfied with that outcome, I guess. But it would be better if the United States has stayed in those agreements, especially because I have the sneaking suspicion that the only reason Trump left those meetings, well, I think there are two reasons he left those meetings. Number one, Trump has never been known for being particularly given to cooperative exercises. And number two, I think Trump is getting ready to wage war on Iran. I think we are getting ready. You guys better get your fucking combat boots on and your fucking fatigues ready. Because, boys, we're about to go to the army, boys. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. We're about to go to war. Israel is a project of the United States, and they are now bombing the fuck out of Iran. And because Iran is an actual developed country with weapons and shit, that's going to require some kind of response. The Iranian people are definitely going to respond with some kind of violence, which is violence to which Israel is going to feel a necessity to respond, and the whole fucking thing just cascades from there. Isn't that lovely? By the way, there's 35 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It is the best way that you can show YouTube that you're interested in this content and that other people should be as well. It really helps to push out the video to the algorithm and push out the live to the algorithm, all that shit. So please hit that like button. What in the same hell is going on here? That's how you said that in your mind, isn't it? Yeah, I got your number, don't I? Yeah. What in the same hell's going on here? I love when people reveal their like passive ignorance just with the fucking words that they to talk with. Fat, you have broken rules 2 and 3 when it comes to our distinct code of conduct for these streams. Readable, original, and interesting. The comment Fat is neither original nor interesting. Please create another account and try again. That was I know it was speech to text. How did I guess? Right. Free Palestine? I totally agree. Free Palestine, I think that's a really noble goal, but that is about the opposite of what we're looking at happening right now in Israel. And it is so fucking tremendously sad to me that the American people seem completely unwilling to rise up against this kind of imperialism, to rise up against this kind of aggression in the world. I came here to chew bubblegum and ban people. I'm all out of gum. Y'all heard it. Y'all know what to expect. Don't act surprised when Glitch Dash gets you. Don't act surprised, because it's coming. Where are you from? Good old Mississippi. Way down yonder in the land of... Way down yonder in the land of... What's the fucking... I'm having trouble remembering the words to the song I'm trying to quote. Way down yonder in the land of traitors, rattlesnakes and alligators, right away, right away, right away, right away. I'm from way down south in the land of traitors, rattlesnakes and alligators. Right away! That's a coincidence. I'm in Mississippi too. You're not the person who said, no, you're not. Okay. I was about to say, I thought for sure the person who said same hill was the one who said, the... I thought for sure you were the person who said Sam Hill, but no, you're not. Yeah, no. For some reason, I attract quite a few Mississippians. I think it's because there's something ultimately kind of familiar about my presentation style and about my manner of speaking. The kind of, I don't know, kind of like the no bullshit way that I conduct with people on here, you know? Read the Bible. I've probably read more of the Bible than you have. I've probably read more of the Bible than you have. I'm probably more familiar with the good book than you are. Real talk. I hate to say it because it's not a very noble fucking, it's not the most noble of labels to have on one's person, but I have read the entire Bible. Sadly for me. But yeah, so apparently, during the midst of all these protests, this is another thing I read about today. Apparently, during the midst of all these protests, ICE kind of reversed it, its guidance to the field officers and agents and shit, and it said, hey, hold off on doing any more worksite raids. Hold off on doing any more worksite or agricultural raids, right? That was on Thursday. And now, earlier today, I think it was, ICE has apparently renewed its guidance, telling its field officers to continue engaging in worksite raids, citing the White House apparently doesn't agree. So I just think it's funny, though, because on Thursday we were hearing, Trump is Trump is kind of pulling some of this back and shit, and now we're hearing, Trump doesn't like that. Trump doesn't like the fact that ICE has attempted to reduce the amount of worksite raids and things like that. He wants them ramped back up. And so what we're seeing is the dual narrative that exists with the Trump White House, right? So we are seeing in real time how different elements of the Trump regime use the name of the president to done, regardless of whatever association they may or may not have. Excuse me. I know that was gross. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now, right? I've been saying for months now that as these worksite raids go on, that as ICE begins deporting people en masse from farms and work sites all over the country, that it was going to add to inflation. And I've been saying for a while now that it was going to lead to massive fucking protests, massive uprising. I was saying 6 months ago, right around the time of the inauguration, I was telling all these MAGA idiots in here, you guys are so fucking to come. And those who've been watching for a while, you might remember me saying this. I'd been saying for a while, maggots have no fucking clue what's going to happen. They are acting like they don't even know, man. People are going to be screaming their fucking heads off in 6 months' time. This was 6 months ago for all the fucking deportations that are going on and for all the economic effects that that's going to have, let alone the cultural effects, let alone the fucking humanitarian crisis caused by deportations. And now, look around us. Look and see. And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, come and see. And you went and you saw. And what do you see? There's something happening here. And what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I've got to beware. It's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. You can look around everywhere you see it. Every little town and country, every little town and city in this country right now is alive with it. You could practically feel it in the air. There's bad lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, getting so much resistance from behind. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. I should deport these things too? Well, luckily for me, I'm an American citizen and I have the right to freedom of speech, which is something that you right-wing chuds love to bring out whenever somebody's doing something that you perceive as being anti-speech. Whenever there's something, whenever somebody's trying to prevent you from being hateful online, oh my God, why aren't you respecting the First Amendment? But you're perfectly fine with taking away those people's First Amendment rights. You're perfectly fine with taking away the First Amendment rights of anybody who doesn't agree with you, anybody who doesn't dress like you, anybody who doesn't follow your rigid ideas of gender, right? Cool. Gotcha. Hey, bud, I'll make sure that that standard gets applied real evenly next time you guys aren't the ones in office. You know what? I really wish the United States would start hanging people that call trans people chomos. I wish the United States would start hanging people by the neck when they say genocidal shit like trans people are fucking child predators and shit. I really do wish. Like, you know what? I'm not one for the death penalty, but you'd only need to hang a couple of you. You'd only need to hang a couple of fucking dumbass bigots that are willing to go around calling trans people predators. You would really only need to do a few of them. It would not take long for the Ministry of Truth to establish you don't get to go around spreading genocidal rhetoric about a group of people you don't like. Because the facts of the fucking matter are that trans people are way more likely to be victims of sexual assault and other violent crimes than we are to be perpetrators of them. And if you are willing to lie and say that's not the case, when we can just prove that that's the case, I really think it's high time America does something about that type of misinformation. I think it's high past time that America takes care of that little misinformation problem. Because you people have been lied to, and you are now spreading that hateful lie all across the country. And the idea that that should just be allowed to self-perpetuate forever might be one of the most nightmarish concepts that this country has ever normalized. But you're spewing hatred about Republicans who are constantly spewing hatred about me. I'm giving them a taste of their own medicine. I'm giving them a taste of their own medicine. How does it feel, Republicans? How does it feel to have someone that how does it feel to have someone calling for your fucking death? How does it feel to have somebody calling for your erasure? How does it feel? I bet it doesn't feel too nice. I bet it's enraging. I bet it's fucking rage-inducing. Yeah, well, maybe if you had empathy, you could understand why a trans person might want to be putting some of that rhetoric back in you guys' face. Unfortunately, you guys aren't burdened with any of those cumbersome human feelings like the rest of us, so I don't think that'll be happening for you guys. Thicko, how about you learn how to spell before trying to insult others? Because I tell you what, your insults will make a lot more impact if they can be spelled correctly. Hold on. Let's make the fucking chat readable again. Because right now there is a lot of unreadable bullshit going by, and I really can't pay attention to any of it because there's just so much of it. So let's make things a little more readable. Now wait, in 5 minutes I'm going to get a bunch of people whining about censorship. A bunch of people whining about censorship because they had to put the subscribe button before they could comment. Whiny bitches. People just love to spam. 100%. People fucking love to spam. Especially when they've got a stupid idea that they are just like dead set on spreading like a virus to the rest of the fucking organic community. You know what I mean? Like, they are dead set on spreading it to the entire community of life. And so they think the best and most effective way to do that is to spam the enter button, copy paste, enter, 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 copy paste, enter. They think that's literally the best way that they can spread these ideas all around the fucking world. And in essence, it does nothing more than make their ideas look completely unhinged, like they fucking are. By the way, there's 137 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If even half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would be sitting at like 67 likes right now or something. So come on. If even half of you guys double tapped your screen right now or hit the little like button somewhere in the rail, I think it's right up here. Come on, like, imagine how many likes we'd have on the stream right now. And also, I never ignore any chats on purpose, but if you feel like I have ignored one of your chats, or if you feel like the chat's just been going by too fast for you to get your chat read, please feel free to send a super chat. That does two things. Number one, it ensures that your comment gets read as long as it doesn't contain anything that violates the TOS for me to say. And number two, it's a really good way of telling me that you like this kind of content, that you want to see more of these, and that you're happy with the atmosphere that we've created here. So if you want to show your support to the channel, please do that. Please hit the like button, and the biggest thing you can do, the most important thing of all, is to engage meaningfully in the chat. Participate. That is how things roll around here. LOL, this is fun for me. It is kind of like playing whack-a-mole, isn't it? Finally, I know, Merrick, I know. I'm sorry, but it takes me a minute sometimes to realize slow mode is what needs to happen, but I always turn it on once I realize that that's what's going on. You know, once I realize that that's the way to get myself a readable chat again, I always put it on there. You're a guy. How about next time you want to insult somebody? How about next time you want to misgender somebody? You learn how to fucking spell. How about you stop being a fucking moron for 5 minutes? Go look up the different forms of your and get back to me. We should carpool to the meetup. Yeah, Glitch, depending on where you're at. I keep forgetting where you are. No, we can't carpool to the meetup. Fucking Glitch. You said you're in Michigan. I mean, okay, maybe we could carpool to the meetup if we met halfway. Like, if the meetup's going to be in New York City or something, then maybe it would make sense. I can drive up north to a certain point, you drive down south to a certain point, we meet at like I-70 or something, and then, because that could be cool, that could be kind of neat, or meet at I-90 maybe or something, but otherwise I don't really see carpooling as being that. I could come get you, I guess you could, yeah, if you wanted to. Good. Super chat 360, what is... do you think I'm a moron? Like, do you think that I'm gonna like read that and think somebody super chatted $360? Like, you realize that super chats come up with a whole color, like a colorful thing, right? Anyway, do I like Star Wars? No, not really. I mean, I guess they're okay, but I'm not the biggest fan ever. No. But yeah, thank you, Glitch Dash, for that $5. I really do appreciate it. That's very kind of you. You're a man, just accept that. Once again, how about the next time you want to misgender somebody, you look up the correct spelling of your, and yours, and you get back to me with something that's baseline legible. Don't come to me trying to insult me if you failed fucking 3rd grade. I'm smarter than you. I'm more adept than you are. Star Trek, though, yeah. I think Star Trek is a, I don't know, though, dude. I think it depends on what you're going to it for, right? Because Star Trek is a way less action-oriented kind of show from what I can remember. And Star Wars is definitely heavily action-oriented. It's like a space opera kind of thing. So I think that there are definitely meritorious things about Star Wars. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a powerful property, right? It wouldn't be so widespread. But I don't think it's the... I don't know. It's not the blockbuster in my mind that it is for a lot of people. I grew up on Star Wars because my dad is a big fan of it, but the only reason why I like it is the outfit designs and the cute animals. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like it for the costume design and things like that. The thing I like best about Star Wars, honestly, is, like I said, I'm not even really that big a fan of Star Wars, but the thing I do like about it quite a bit is the world building. I think it's one of the best examples of fantasy world building in all of fiction. So, wonderful for those reasons. What's your gender? I'm a woman. Does anybody else think that that word is kind of weird? Woman, woman. Like, I don't know. It just seems like the placement of vowels there in relation to the consonants in that word. It's unlike any other word in the English language. But anyway. I feel about Star Wars the same way I do about people who invest their life in Harry Potter. The people who are really into those franchises, I feel as if they dipped their toe into fiction and then just stopped and never explored any other media. Yeah, Merrick, I tend to feel the same kind of way. Like, if you are obsessed to exclusion with Star Wars, and that's your main thing, and that's the best thing that you like when it comes to media, that's the movie, that's the fucking franchise that you think of when you think fiction, I probably don't have as much respect for you as somebody that doesn't have a first thought when they think fiction, or whose first thought is, I don't know, like, how do you determine what is and isn't that basic, right? Like, some people would say Harry Potter is more complicated than Lord of the Rings because there are more books, right? But some people would say that Lord of the Rings is more complicated because it uses older language. I don't know. I really don't know what you determine, or I really don't know what you would use as a baseline to determine what is and isn't a very, wide horizons when it comes to media consumption. But I do know that Harry Potter in particular is kind of a red flag franchise for me. When I find out somebody is obsessed with that fucking franchise, I feel the exact same way that you just described, Merrick. I feel like somebody dipped their toe into fiction and never stepped a single they never put their heel in, let their ankle get wet, you know? By the way, there's 174 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button because it really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for the stream to get blasted out to even more people, which is the best way for the stream to get even more interesting by virtue of its chat becoming more participatory. And that is another way you can help by participating in the chat, asking interesting questions. We talk about the news here, movies, fucking current events, politics, philosophy. It doesn't matter. Just ask questions, make them interesting, make them readable, make them readable, original, and interesting. That's my 3 rules. As long as you can follow those, we'll be fine. And if you want to make absolutely sure that your comment gets read and you want to support the channel, please send a super chat. That is a really good way to show both of those things. It's a really good way to make sure both of those things happen. Garrett, what is your point? Okay, I'm going to ask everybody in the chat to argue with me, right? Because I don't know what you guys are arguing about, but Glitch Dash is fine, Merrick's fine, the mods are fine, the people responding to Garrick, I guess, are fine, but Garrett, you should be arguing with me, not the other people in the chat. So we all belong in America, not just Native Americans? Well, here's what I know. There's one country with your tired masses yearning to breathe free. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. I know there's only one country that has that out in front of it. It's not France. It's not the United Kingdom. It's not Germany. It's not Russia. It's not Estonia. It's not Latvia. It's not Lithuania. It's not Brazil. It's not Uruguay. It's not Mexico. It's not Cuba. It's not the Dominican Republic. So where is it? Where is the country that says, bring me, you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, you're sick, your tired masses yearning to breathe free? Whose rhetoric is that again? Your stream is stuttering a lot. Let me see. Hey y'all, I don't know. I might have to end the stream or something. I'm so pissed right now. For some reason, I'm having connection issues. The reason why the camera angle looks weird is because I'm literally trying to hold the fucking phone at an angle to where there's more of a line of sight between where I'm sitting and the fucking Wi-Fi router. Because for whatever fucking unknowable reason, AT&T is reporting no outages, but my fucking service is dog shit right now. Like, dog shit. So, I don't know, dude. I don't fucking know. I really do not know what to do. Because it's been raining all goddamn day. So I know every fucking surface outside is going to be soaking fucking wet. So it's not exactly like I want to go do a stream outside right now. But, if I put the phone back where it's supposed to be, I'm afraid it's going to fucking disconnect. We're going to try it. We're going to fucking try it, because I don't fucking know what else to fucking do. I don't know what else to do. At this point, honestly, I wish I just had a really, really, really long Ethernet cable and another Wi-Fi router. Because at this point, if I had that, I would just string a fucking Ethernet cable between the house and this outbuilding, and I would just put another fucking router out here. Because it's getting fucking absurd and ridiculous, dude. I'm sick to death of dealing with fucking connection issues every time AT&T's service decides to take a fucking shit. Every time AT&T service decides to take a shit, it's my fucking streams that gotta suffer because of it. Because for whatever reason, like, I don't know. It just pisses me off. Like, do they not fucking maintain the fucking towers or something? Like, why? Every single time there's a fucking storm, does one of these fucking towers go down? So fucking annoying. God, I'm fucking pissed right now. I really wish I was the account holder for my phone, because I would fucking ream fucking AT&T a new one right now. Dude, maybe I should just fucking do that anyway. Maybe I should call their customer support number and just scream at them until they give the person whose name it is in a $20 credit on their bill, because this shit's ridiculous. God, that's annoying. Well, I guess that's going to have to be the solution, is just leaving the door open, because I don't know what else to do. Yeah, but that's the thing. Storms don't always mess with the connection. Sometimes a storm will roll through and it's fucking fine. But if it's a hard storm and there's some lightning, it always knocks out a tower or two. And you would fucking think that with all of our technology, with all of the fucking advancements we've been able to make up till now, you would think that at some point one of those advancements would have included a fucking cell phone tower that doesn't go down the minute an electrical storm gets within a mile of it. What happened to your glasses? They're just ancient. They're ancient, and I haven't been able to afford to get new ones in years, so probably won't be able to afford to get new ones for years either, so I don't know. I'll have these until the lenses shatter, probably, and after that, I guess I'll just be blind. I don't know. I got these glasses when I was on Medicaid anymore. I don't have Medicaid anymore, and I don't project I'll ever qualify again, so. And, I don't know. I don't want to get on a depressive tear about how I'm never going to have a good pair of glasses again. How about we just talk about something else? Hey, Phoebe, are you a Democrat or a Republican? Neither. The Democrats are a party of compromise, my friend. The Democrats are a party of Republicanism with a blue tie. And Republicans are just outright Republicans. Republicans are literally they're the capitalist party. They're the oil baron party. And Democrats are too, but then they'll pay lip service to all these other wonderful ideas and act like those are the things that they really want. But then when it comes right down to it and those issues come up for a vote, for some reason, there's just never enough effort to be found. So I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. 5 years ago, I might have identified myself pretty readily as a Democrat, or at least Democrat adjacent. Nowadays, nah, bro. Nowadays, not a fan of the Democrats, not a fan of the Republicans. I think they're both toxic parties that take energy from the American people and funnel it towards useless fucking electoral action that ultimately amounts to nothing. Godfrey would never ask such a question. He would reject politics to be a barbaric fighter. Probably. I don't know who that is, but probably. By the way, there's 59 people in here. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, because it really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, there's another chance to push this out to even more people. But it's also a way to put balm on my ego for losing so many viewers and so much possibility when my fucking connection decided to take a big, fat, massive elephant dump. I don't know why you're Garrett. I don't know why the fuck you feel the need to let us in on your constant running stream of consciousness, but none of us need to know that you're going to get Taco Bell. Okay? None of us need to know. You're not buying it for any of us, are you? I'm really glad you feel that way, because I feel the same way about both parties. A lot of people do. A shit ton of people do. A shit ton of people right now feel the exact same way I do about the party system, and that's why the Democrats lost last year. That's why. That's why the Republicans only won with narrow margins. Go on down the list. Dissatisfaction with the parties is at an all-time high. Well, I guess I can leave it open now. Who's it hurt? Do you support ICE or the riots? Riots are the language of the unheard, baby. The only reason these riots are happening is because mass deportations have gone on in America for too fucking long. And the people who were affected by them, which is all of us, by the way, are getting sick to death of it. People who are directly affected by them are getting sick to death of seeing their families shipped off and broken up for no reason. People that are directly affected by the issue are sick to death of seeing their workplaces broken up for no fucking reason other than to satisfy the bigotries of small-minded Southerners. Literally, that's it. To satisfy the bigotries of small-minded Southerners and Midwesterners. That's why people are being fucking kidnapped en masse and shipped off to Mexico in places like LA, in places like Chicago and New York, and all these other fucking cities where Trump is going in with federal fucking agents and arresting people en masse to deport them. That's what's happening. The will of a bunch of fucking country bumpkins is being satisfied at a national scale at the cost of people's actual, real lives. Isn't Trump from NY? Yeah, Trump's from New York. His fucking base isn't. Trump's fucking base is country bumpkins like the ones I grew up around. What do you mean for no reason? They are here illegally. Should we allow them to break the law? Well, I don't know. Let me quote to you the last living Nuremberg prosecutor. Breaking up families, shipping their parents shipping the parents off to another country and letting their children just stay in a concentration camp. We're doing things that I hanged this man for. That was Ben Franks. the last living Nuremberg prosecutor, when asked about the deportations under Donald Trump. When it comes to a stupid policy that's meant to be inhuman, yes, enforcing that policy makes you inhuman. An inhuman law must be broken. An inhuman law calls out to be broken. So here's a question. If someone is poor or homeless, should they be allowed to steal from stores for food? Well, let me ask you this in response. Should stores be allowed to, let's take stores out of it. Should the billionaires who own and control the grocery stores and the food supplies in this country, should they be allowed to exclude that from people on the basis of their not having enough money? I really don't think they should. Do you think food is a human right? Do you think people have the right to live? Let's start there. Who did you vote for? I didn't vote for anybody. I didn't vote for either of the fucked up authoritarian fascists on the 2024 ticket. I looked at both of them, threw up in my mouth, and said no thanks. So do you agree with New York using tax dollars to fund these people with free hotels and food, etc.? Well, something's got to be done with them. And I'm certainly not a fan of fucking separating their families, breaking up their families, shipping them off to a country they're just going to come back here from anyway. You realize what the recidivism rate is on fucking immigration deportations? Do you realize that most people who get deported have been deported like 10 times? At what point do you acknowledge that you're fucking tilting against windmills? Billionaires didn't earn their money. You don't earn $1 billion. You don't earn $1 billion. Go earn $1 billion for me, the gaming channel of awesome. I'd be shocked if you've earned fucking $50. I'd be shocked if you've earned $50 in a way that's not directly involved in enriching another human being. Like, come on, bud. Go make $1 million for me. Fuck $1 billion. Go make $1 million. I own a company and I have made $1 million so far. You don't think I could grow? Oh, so you exploit a bunch of people's labor. Great. Great. I'm supposed to admire that? Go make $1 billion. Yeah, you're an owner. Where'd you get the money to start that company? This is assuming you even own this company. People love to bullshit online. Online, everybody's a doctor. Online, everybody's a landlord and a CEO. That's because everybody in America is a temporarily disenfranchised billionaire. A temporarily embarrassed billionaire. We're all just seconds away from landing in Bill Gates' shoes, right? My dad died and left me $27,000. $27,000. Do you realize how many Americans will live and breathe their entire lives and never see $7,000? Much less $27,000? Yeah, if somebody died and left me 27 grand, I could probably turn it into $1 million over the course of 10 years too. Yeah, that's not that hard to do. I mean, America's kind of set up to exploit the fuck out of people if you've got a little bit of money to get you started. That's not hard. Why am I bad for creating jobs and my employees are happy? because you perpetuate a system by which people have to live their lives by another person's lights, and a system whereby their labor is not their labor is not they don't own their labor, right? The products of their labor have nothing to do with the wages that they take home. That system is perpetuated by capitalists like yourself. A system by which people work their fucking asses off, and some rich fuck like yourself takes $1 million on the back of it. So who is supposed to create jobs? You see, this is why I don't look at capitalism as a meritocracy. Because in a meritocracy, if America was a meritocracy, if capitalism was a meritocracy, then somebody with $1 million would be able to spell the word supposed. Why is it that my dumb, poor ass can figure out how to spell that word, but your ass is fucking it up on the attempt? It's because this place is not a meritocracy. Your dad left you with enough money to start a company. You did so, followed all the advice of whatever fucking mentor you had, and now you're fucking rich. Yay for you! I bet your employees would love to have a little bit of that, a little slice of that pie. I bet your employees would love to have a fucking rich-ass dad that would leave them 27 grand. I'm bored and found this interesting, and markets are closed. There we go. Now we've landed on it. Markets are closed. You're a money manipulator. You're a fucking money changer. I don't take you seriously a bit. You're not a job creator. You're a fucking day trader. 27,000 is nothing. I bet it wasn't nothing when you got it, unless you started out with a lot more money than that. The only way you think $27,000 isn't nothing is if you've been rich your whole fucking life. Anybody that grew up poor looks at 27 grand and thinks, holy shit, I'll never see that much money in the palm of my hand in my entire life. Anybody that's working class people in the fucking chat, sound off. Sound off. Is $27,000 a lot of money? So, some people in the chat, name off some things you could do with $27,000 that would change your life right off the bat. I can name you a few things right off the top. Like right off the top of my head, right? Without even thinking about it that much. With $27,000, I could completely redo the septic system on my property. I could completely have it redone, have the old one torn out, have a new one put in, new field line, all that shit, completely redone. I could have the entire fucking AC system in the old trailer redone. Hell, I could probably, if I had $27,000, I could probably, well, number one, I could get the taxes paid up on the trailer and shit like that, and then I could get in talks with one of these companies that builds trailers, since we already own the land, and trade in the old trailer for its used value, its scrap value, whatever it would have more of. And combined with that $27,000, I could get a new trailer. So I could take the old, shitty, decrepit house I live in right now and turn it into a brand new house that would be way more useful for filming in, way more useful for making content in, which is right now the way I make my money. So that's one thing I could do. Let's say I didn't want to do that, though, and I just wanted to make repairs. Well, that $27,000 would pay for a completely new septic system, a completely new HVAC system with new vents and everything. It would completely finish out all of the floors that had to be ripped up and new ones put down. It would buy a brand new water softener and 3-stage water filter. And even after doing all of this, I would probably still have, 15 grand left, all of which I could put into improving the farm. I could buy the necessary equipment that I need to finish cleaning up everything. I could buy all of the materials I need to fence in every single bit of it, with the correct gates and with the correct electric boxes and everything else, I could literally redo my entire fucking homestead for $27,000 and walk away with a semi-profitable business model on it. I say semi because I don't know that it would be 100% profitable on its own throughout the whole year. Like, I would probably have to still rely on YouTube income for like November, December, January, February, March, but those changes alone could leave me with enough resources to be able to completely grow like 90% of our food and to make a profit during the spring, summer, and fall months. That's how much that money could change my life. Anybody in the chat want to sound off with how much that money could change their life? If you worked hard for 5 years in your 20s while living at home, you could save $27,000 easy? No, you can't. That entirely depends on how much you're making and how much you're fucking paying your parents in terms of rent. Like, are you under the impression that everybody that lives with their parents does so for free? You have to counter any argument. Well, I'll counter any argument that you make. It is a huge risk. It's not that huge a risk. How is it a huge risk? You haven't defined that. You just say it by fiat, and we're supposed to accept it. Is $500 impossible? What do you mean? Is $500 impossible? Over what time period? Once again, dude, I'm just level with me here. Level with me, gaming channel. What is the least amount of money you have ever made in the form of an hourly wage? What is the lowest amount of money you have ever made on an hourly wage? And don't bullshit me. I will know if you're bullshitting me. I've worked in so many states in this fucking great country. Don't bullshit me. What's the lowest amount you've ever made hourly? Could you get $500? I mean, once again, it depends. Like, could I get $500? I mean, I was working a job up until a month ago where I was making $500 a week. So, yes. Can I get $500? Hell, I could get $500 right now if somebody wanted to send it in Super Chat, which, if you were as rich as you said, you could do that, as some provenance. But I'm just saying, that is not that hard to do. Now, could I save 500? That's another fucking question. Could I save 500 where I'm at right now? No. You can't save money when you owe money. At least it's not, it doesn't feel right to me to do so. It doesn't feel right to me to be saving up money and then telling other people, oh, I'm sorry, I just can't pay. I'm sorry, I just can't pay. I'm sorry, I can't just pay that. I can't make that bill, this, that, and the other thing. What seems fucking fair and righteous to me is that I pay my bills and save whatever I have left. And whatever I have left usually ends up being nothing. I lived with my parents for a time when I was in my 20s. I had to work and pay my parents because I was no longer a child. Yes, exactly, Merrick. Me too. I right now I live in an intergenerational household, and so I'm not paying my parents' rent, so to speak, but we all contribute to a kitty that pays the fucking bills every month. Now since I lost my job at the factory I was working at, and I've started doing this for my main income. I mean, I do still have one last paycheck I'll get from that place that I should get tomorrow or the next day. But, things might be a little bit tight for a while until I figure out a good monetization model with the channel or end up getting a different job. But point is that we all contribute, all of us in the household that earn income, we all contribute to the upkeep of the bills and shit, which takes most of my fucking money, especially with the homestead and shit, because we got animals. So somebody's got to feed them. We've got phone bills. Somebody's got to pay them. I have a kid, so we have to have a fucking phone. Diapers, fucking formula. Like, we have WIC, but that doesn't pay for everything, you know? And when all is fucking said and done, I'm lucky that if I'm super lucky if I've got $20 that I can squirrel away into my fucking savings account. My parents were rabid about getting paid for me being there. Yeah, exactly. $500 super chat plus minus 30% for YouTube theft. Yeah, no. Well, I don't really know that I consider it theft. I mean, I get why YouTube. Okay, I wish they didn't take so much. I wish they didn't take so much of it, but I understand why they have to take some of it. YouTube has never been a profitable enterprise. I understand their desire to try and make it profitable, but it does suck that they take like 30% of it. My point is, if you open up a credit card, for example, or you saved up $500, which shouldn't be impossible over a year, you could start a power washing business and make a free website. Yeah, you realize we're not talking about just me, right? You realize, like I'm in a privileged position. The gaming channel, like, that's the fucking thing you don't seem to understand when it comes to this conversation. You're talking to someone who advocates for people that are not like herself. I really don't have to worry about a lot of this shit. I can afford... I could afford to live on fucking $500 a month if I had to, because the land that my family lives on is fucking owned. We own it. We've owned it outright since the 1940s. There's no mortgage on this land. There never will be a mortgage on this land. One of the things my great-granddad had in his will is that none of us mortgage this land. So it will never be mortgaged, right? It'll never be tied up in some kind of land deal. And that puts me in a position of privilege over a lot of people. I guarantee you, you might be the only other person in this fucking chat that owns their own home. But even me, in my position of relative privilege, even I don't have the ability to just go off and do something. And we can talk about the reasons for that, but ultimately, I prefer to operate in generalities when I'm advocating for the working class, because my situation doesn't apply to everybody. But I'll tell you what, you know why I can't get a credit card? Because I owe First State Community Bank in Deloge, Missouri, $150. The reason why I owe that fucking bank $150 is because I got one of those shitty online loan shark loans when I was 18 and didn't know shit about money. I didn't know fuck or all about money. I felt like there would always be enough money to cover the fucking expenses later on down the road. I didn't have very good impulse control. I don't really think people that are that young should be allowed to enter into that kind of life-changing fucking contract, but I did, and I had overdraft protection with that bank, and they charged the bank for some of my payments that I hadn't made, and it took like $150 out of it. No, it didn't take $150 originally. Originally, it just took like $80, and the interest kept ramping up up into a maximum, and so now I've owed them like $150 for the last 5 years. Year before that, it was like I owed them like 130, and the year before that, it was like I owed them like 110. Year before that, it was like 90, and then, you know. But that's the fucked up thing about the way America allows its financial institutions to operate when it comes to young people. You're allowed to give somebody like my dumbass 18-year-old self, who was completely underqualified, a loan for an amount of money they're never going to be able to pay back with their current income situation. Why was I allowed to do that? Like, yeah, you can say I was a moron for doing it, but why the fuck are they allowed to take advantage of people like that? Like, if you're going to say it's legal for people to do that, then why should it be illegal for me to scam you? Like, why should it be illegal for me to operate a fucking Ponzi scheme? Fuck it. If the idea that people's informed consent doesn't even matter when it comes to financial transactions, then on what grounds do we criminalize Ponzi schemes? Sorry, but can I see your pens? Sure. Yeah, got all kinds of pens. Yeah. Yeah. All kinds of pens. All the pens, all the time. You're comparing starting a business with a low investment to winning the lottery, which I don't even know what the odds are, but I'm sure it's not a great compare. Oh my god. You're not getting the point. The point is, anything can fucking happen, but there's a likelihood fucking calculation that goes on that I think a lot of people who have gotten to your position, I don't know. Like, do you understand why I feel like you might be out of touch a little bit? Like, do you understand at least why I think you're a little out of touch when it comes to this? Because you're looking at somebody, no, fuck me, take me out of the equation. You're looking at regular people who have bills to pay, mouths to feed, people to take care of, a car note, a fucking rent payment, etc., etc., etc. Maybe they don't get along with their parents, so they can't live with their parents. Maybe they made horrible financial decisions when they were 18 because they didn't know any better. But whatever the situation is, they get to that point, 25, 26, 27, that point where people are normally starting to kind of do okay, and they realize that they are still at fucking ground zero because there's no fucking assistance in this country to get forward. Only maintenance assistance. That's the only kind of assistance we dole out in this country. Sure, if you get to the point where you literally can't eat, at that point you can get some food stamps. Why the fuck not if you're fucking... Why the fuck can't you get food stamps if you're just a little poor? Imagine what a fucking economic boon that would be. You realize how many people don't follow the exact path that you're laying out because it's not accessible to them? Because they've got too many bills to pay and too much responsibility to fucking keep up with that? And there's no fucking assistance. None. I would be a lot more. I would be a lot more friendly to this entrepreneurial mindset if I looked around and I saw some kind of taxpayer funded organization that actually makes sure that an interested person, like an interested and competent person, has the ability to start a business if they want to. But the fact of it is, I've been wanting to start a food truck for months. I literally love nothing more than to cook. I talk all the time, right, on here, but that's probably my second love, right? When it comes to life and the little pleasures, the things that I really like doing in life, there are two things that I value more than anything else when it comes to things that I do. Number one is cooking. Number two is talking and bullshitting with people. I've been wanting to start a food truck for fucking years, and I've been really serious about it for a few months now. And you know how much that shit's going to cost me? Thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, if I decide to start out from the very bottom, right? If I go the, like, okay, well, just get what I can and do what I can until things get better, I could probably start that business for around 25 grand. Maybe around 25 grand. When the fuck am I going to come into 25 grand? There's approximately one family member I can think of that would be able to leave me that kind of money. And frankly, I would give up every fucking dream I have to see them live as long as they fucking possibly can. So why would I look forward to that? Why would I even think about it? Like, that's the fucking thing. I would love to go down that path, but I can't. Not right now. Not for the foreseeable future. Plenty of people would love to go down that path, but they can't. Anything in life is insanely hard. It's what you make of it. It's not impossible. Okay, bud. Gotcha. If you say so. Speaking of food trucks, if you did have one, what types of food would you make? I already know 100% what the menu would be. I would sell, um, I would sell pulled pork. So it would all the proteins would be smoked, but it'd be pulled pork, uh, baby back ribs, beef brisket, and smoked chicken. I haven't decided whether or not I would do like whole smoked chickens and just spatchcock them, or whether I would do quartered chickens. Probably quartered, honestly, because that would be less waste. Let somebody else deal with all the carcass bones and shit like that I'm not really going to be able to make good use of in a barbecue food truck. But I would do probably 4 proteins and then a few sides, um, homemade mac and cheese, baked beans, French fries, coleslaw. Uh, then there were 2 others I wanted to do: hush puppies and greens, I think. Uh, yeah, I believe that was it. Yeah. It's a 10 item menu. So, um, so for proteins, it would be pulled pork, baby back ribs, beef brisket, and smoked chicken. And for sides, it would be smoked mac and cheese and smoked baked beans, as well as greens, hush puppies, French fries, and coleslaw, making a total of 10 items, which is which is 2 under the 12 items that is considered kind of the upper limit for what a food truck can do and remain efficient. Sounds yummy. I'd definitely be a regular customer. That's the fucking thing. That's why I lament this situation, right? That's why I lament the death of the American dream. Because the fact of it is, up until this last month, I have okay, not okay, there have been a few times in my life where I haven't been working a regular job, but even during those times, I was still busking, playing music and singing, and like earning my money that way. I have always done something for money. I have always engaged with this economy in the way that you're supposed to, spending time, hours of my day, doing something that's meant to earn income in some way. I've done that since I was 16 years old, and what do I have to show for it? Well, I owe $150 to a bank, so I can't have an actual bank account. I have a Cash App fucking account. That's how I deal with my banking matters and shit. I don't have any credit cards or anything like that, so I don't really have that much debt. I do owe a hospital like $150, and I owe fucking MediaCom for some fucking DVD player or some shit. One of those broadcast devices. I don't fucking know. That's from so many years ago that I'm surprised it's even still on my fucking credit report. I'm assuming it's something that must have happened at the house I used to live in after I moved away, because the people that I was living there with continued to live there, and I continued to let them use my account with my name on it. So that was probably a stupid idea, but I think the account's closed out now, so now I just need to pay that $130 or whatever it is for their stupid ass DVR or whatever that supposedly didn't get turned in. I guess Merrick had enough of the gaming channel. Is smoked mac and cheese a thing? Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. Smoked mac and cheese is a thing. I mean, think about it. You can smoke cheese, so why wouldn't you smoke macaroni and cheese, right? So that allows me to buy cheaper cheeses, because I would want I mean, it's a barbecue food truck, so why not have as much smoky flavor and as many things as possible, right? Um, but I wouldn't have to buy smoked cheeses in order to do this because I would just be smoking the entire mac and cheese, you know? And the mac and cheese recipe that I've been workshopping for this food truck idea, by the way, is a super easy and quick to whip up mac and cheese recipe. Literally, it's just a batch with some heavy cream added to it, and then you like let that get up to the right kind of wateriness, and then you add your cheeses and stir it until it all melts. And then there's this like perfect point at which it all becomes nice and melted, and you take it off the heat at that point and keep stirring. And then you stir in the mac, you know, and you make sure that you've got enough noodles for everything to have a nice thin coating. And at that point, I would just pour it into a tin foil, and I would put it in the I would put it in the smoker at that point. That would be my plan if I did the smoked mac and cheese thing. Yeah, no, Glitch Dash, I love it when you are talking about something. See, I love Glitch Dash because sometimes they are super funny and they've just got humor and comedy for the chat. They're very lighthearted. But every so often, Glitch Dash will get serious about something and will be actually talking about something and will have the fucking facts on it. And when it comes to what they're talking about, when it comes to business, they're 100% right. For every successful business, there are scores that failed despite every best effort. Yes. LOL, never believe low-key YT millionaires. Yeah, no, that's the thing. If that YT millionaire is a fucking real millionaire, they would have fucking donated some big super chat to prove themselves or something, you know? Like anybody that's that proud of all this money they've made and all this money they've got to burn, anybody who's that proud is doing some conspicuous spending. You're telling me that they wouldn't love the opportunity to prove irrevocably that they're a millionaire by sending a $100 super chat that they ain't even got to worry about? Maybe sending 2 in a row. It just seems like such a wasted opportunity if you've got that kind of money, you know, because you could instantly come in here and prove your credentials and be like, you know what, here's a couple of $100 because I am a millionaire and I do want you to see that this is possible, even if you're not coming at it with a lot. You know, I would love that. You know, like honestly, the biggest act of good faith that this YT millionaire could do, if they're an actual millionaire, is to reach out on my Discord and be like, "Hey, I would love to invest in your in your idea and be your mentor." You know, actual way to convince somebody. That would be an actual way to show them, hey, yeah, no, this isn't some secret koi club that we're all just like secreted away on because our daddies were rich. And I'll prove it to you. You ain't rich, and fuck it, I'll teach you how to be a business owner. I'll give you the money you need to start up. But they don't do that. Why? Is it because he's not actually a YT millionaire? Or is it because they actually do know that it's a club that's based on birth? Did you ever see that one guy, Coyote Lovely, who confessed his love to a USAF member? No. I guess not, no. Real rich people don't go around bragging about it, especially on YouTube. They don't have anything to prove to anyone. Their wealth is simply self-evident. Yeah, that's true too. I mean, people that are like crazy wealthy don't. I will tell you, Glitch Dash, there are definitely people on the lower end of wealthy. People on the lower end of wealthy do sometimes become kind of braggadocious about it and shit. But that's like I said, that's usually like the million to 20 million kind of club. I really don't see that kind of behavior once people start getting into the like I have a boat and a giant mansion and a bunch of other shit. Like at the point where you've got, you know, $30 million just in assets, people kind of stop bragging about being rich and shit. Because at that point, you don't have anything to prove to anybody. And you don't care to argue with some pleb about whether or not you had the right to make that money. Yet another reason I don't believe this person is actually a millionaire. You also notice, at least as far as I noticed, that he dodged my question about what's the least he ever made. It's because that motherfucker, if they are a millionaire, they've never made a fucking hourly wage. If they have, it's been like $25 an hour at some company their daddy helped them get onto, you know? And if they're not a millionaire, they don't want to confess that the lowest wage they've ever made is the same as the lowest wage I've ever made, $7.50. They don't want to confess that because it's ennobling. It's ignobling. I don't know how you'd say that actually. Now that I think about it, maybe I shouldn't say words that I'm not that familiar with. But it's the opposite of an ennobling thing. It's like a shameful thing. I literally had to talk face to face with some millionaires earlier this evening. I know they were millionaires because they left behind a bunch of really nice wine, and I got to enjoy it with some coworkers. They didn't give a damn if it was wasted. The wine was also not that great. Ignobling. I don't know, Merrick, bro. Fuck it. Shakespeare invented like half the English language. By the time I'm done, bro, I'm going to have invented another one. I'm going to have invented a whole nother half. Ignobling, bro. It's ignobling. Bro, Merrick, I asked the fucking I asked Pessimist Productions kind of, well, I asked TJ specifically, because TJ said on an Onion Nuggets like 6 months, 7 months ago, something like that, maybe a year ago now, said something like, in response to something somebody asked in the chat, TJ was like, yeah, I tell you what, anybody who anybody who does something notable with their life, anybody who's notable, we'll let them on here. Sure, I'll bring you on here. Why not? And, you know, I don't remember the specifics of it, like all of them, but I remember the implication that one could become that notable through a number of different avenues. And anyway, asked if my 3K subscribers basically was enough to earn me that spot of that spot of wonderfulness or whatever, that spot of honor, and Paul was like, "Yeah, dude, VB's bullshit." I was like, "Aw, man, broken heart. Nah, I am bullshit, but I'm bullshit that has somehow managed to garner an audience, so that's why I think they should do it anyway." There's clearly something likable about me. Lactose intolerant. Yeah, exactly. You were correct for the record. Wait, what? I was correct with how I said it? Everyone who did something with their life had like 5 other people behind them. Oh yeah, 100%. That is something people really have to fucking keep in mind. That is something I really wish people would, that's something I wish people would understand, you know, especially that want to come in here and do this, like, wealth proselytizing thing. It's like, if you're gonna be like that, if you're gonna fucking push those values, fucking at least acknowledge when another person says you didn't get there by yourself. At least acknowledge that they're fucking right. Because otherwise you're just lying to yourself. And I wish I would have brought that up when that person was still in here. I wish I would have brought that up. Like, yeah, you had a $27,000 loan from your father. Or not a loan, you had an inheritance. So you didn't even have to pay it back. That's another huge fucking thing. See, that's a privilege that he had over other people that he probably won't ever fucking recognize as such, right? Probably won't ever recognize it as such, but that's a massive fucking privilege he had over other people. Most other people that come into that kind of money to start a business owe that money. It's not like they get to just spend that money and then whatever comes from it is theirs to keep. You know, like there's no loans to repay or anything like that. They just have to put it towards the next month of running their business. That's not the fucking arrangement most people are in when they come into that kind of money to start a business with. They end up with fucking debt. They end up with thousands of dollars of fucking debt that has to be factored in to their operating costs. Somebody who gets an inheritance of 27 grand, that's fucking amazing. You don't even have to pay that back. There's nobody to pay it back to. And that's not to mention That's not to mention the other multiple fucking facets of people had to be intimately involved in this person's rise to success. The person who approved their permits, the person who fucking taught them the ropes when it came to getting permits and finding customers and maintaining customers and doing whatever it is that they do, right? Like, and not just that, but like if you've ever read the beginning pages to a book, right? It'll have the dedication section, and sometimes those dedications go on forever. Or if you watch a documentary, like a Michael Moore documentary, the special thanks section is like that fucking long, because that's how many people are involved in making a fucking documentary. People would be like, oh, it's just the producers and the filmmakers and that fucking... No. It's all the people involved in it. It's all the people who are giving interviews for it. It's all the people who make the food that gets eaten on the fucking different sets and shit. It's all the people who are responsible for transporting these different producers and film crew from place to place. Thousands of people sometimes involved in the making of one program. And that's why there's this big-ass fucking credits section that takes up 5 minutes at the end of every film. But people want to act like when it comes to a business, that's not how things work. When it comes to a business, oh no, dude, that was just me and my hard work. No, it wasn't. It was you, your hard work, and your ability to convince like 5, 6, 10, 20 people to get behind you in a way that enabled you to get to that spot. And that's fine, but admit that. Admit that. Like, what's the problem with admitting that? Right, billionaires always come from previously rich families with money and connections. Exactly, too. Paul burned me as well. That one time he was streaming on his original channel and was confused why his mods weren't modded, except me. That is strange. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, like, Paul is a stoner and does forget shit, so maybe it's just like you genuinely didn't realize you were a mod over on the Poltergeist, but, it is a little weird. A little bit weird. Another silly little question I want to ask to kind of brighten up the mood. What type of clothing style / aesthetic? I have always, you can probably tell, honestly, if you've seen me get up at all during the stream, I always go for a very kind of like alt / goth kind of aesthetic. I'm actually going to, so you guys can see this. Normally I would have a much more frilly shirt on. I've got three frilly shirts that I like to wear. One of them has really long sleeves and is a crop top. One of them has cute lace all over the sleeves, and then one of them is like a half sleeve with these cute little danglies on them. But they're all either black or black and white. He's also said that he doesn't even know why I modded me. Oh, wow. Oof. Hardcore burn. That's a fucking hardcore burn, because you've been a mod for fucking forever over there. You were a mod back in 2020, weren't you? I don't know. I just remember Merrick being a really long-time contributor to the community. I was banned from Paul's channel long ago. Aw, poor Glitch Dash. Has my channel become... Hold on. Has my channel become the unofficial refuge for all the people scorned by Paul's channel? It's like, well, Paul doesn't tolerate my goofiness anymore, so maybe Phoebe will. Which, I mean, it's a good impulse, because I will, you know. I do. I will. Moss Lover, can we be friends? Yeah, can you guys be friends? Sorry, what I meant to say was, what type of clothing / style? Oh, yeah, that... yeah. Do you remember September? No. Their partner, if they have one, yeah. I suppose it's not that weird. I don't really talk to Paul much outside of streams, nor do I engage with the community much. It's whatevs. I was just sad to learn he forgot who I was. 2020? No. I was modded in like 2024, but I've watched Paul since like 2009 or so. Off and on, of course. And no, I have no scorn for the man. Yeah, no, I didn't figure so. I just, I don't know. It's just strange to think about, I guess. I don't know. I remember you being modded way back in... Man, I'm telling you, Merrick. I remember you being a mod way, way, way back when. But maybe I'm fucking forgetting. Maybe I'm just full of shit. Maybe I don't know. But I remember you at least being a mod in like 2023. I'm self-aware enough to realize that Paul won't remember some rando on his live streams. Yeah. You could yourself in a shit ton of streams and get involved in a shit ton of arguments with Paul to really fucking ingratiate yourself in terms of like being like one of the chatters that he knows anything about, if that makes sense. Like I genuinely believe the only reason why Paul recognizes my chats out in the wild and shit like that, and has any memory of me at all, is because I've engaged with him so many fucking times on the channel, right? I had so many arguments with Paul, so many fucking arguments, and you know, some of them have been pretty contentious too. Most famously the old French guy argument, as I like to call it. Oh man, come on though, man, that one was so fucking funny. I got the best troll off ever in that one. Because Paul was getting all, like, he was super high and mighty out on Foucault, and I was like, I don't remember exactly all I made, but at one point he was just like, just admit that you're wrong on this, Phoebe. Just admit it, right? Just admit it and say that I was right. Say this: Paul, you're right. I'm a dumbass. And so I typed exactly that, right? And then I hit enter, and immediately after I typed in parentheses, that's called placation, by the way. And hit enter. And like, come on. Was there a better response? Could there have been a better response? Yeah, so I brought up one day that Derek Jensen is kind of a transphobe, or at least he's like trans exclusionary and shit, and about how I think his takes on queer theory suck. And Paul brought up how, like, well, some of his critiques kind of make sense, because, like, why does the queer community rely on theory as proposed by Foucault and shit like that? And I made the argument, like, why should all of queer theory be beholden to the ideas of some old French dude? That was literally the verbiage I used, was some old French dude. And Paul, of course, took umbrage with that. But, you know, he was meant to. I mean, whatever. I get how the sausage is made. Like, I get that the interesting chat for me to make there was not, well, I simply think Foucault is not, I mean, I think Foucault is just one of a bunch of different thinkers, some of which have used him as a source and some of which have went off on their own completely unique directions, right? I could have gone that direction, but it would have led to a way less interesting stream than what ended up happening because I chose to go with the more abrasive direction, you know? I also try to fish stories out of the guy any chance I can get. Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the best things about Paul is that he's forgotten more stories than he's even told, you know? Like, get brought up until his dad came around just because he didn't think of them as stories, you know? He didn't really look back at them that same way. I think you must be confusing me with someone else. I just engaged in his chat semi-regularly. Yeah, that might be what I'm getting mixed up, honestly. As far as style goes, I like to wear soft/goth. Yeah, I would say soft goth is kind of my thing as well. What I wonder about that rich guy is how many people did unpaid labor for him? 0. He was a tall tale teller. Low-key YT millionaires are always spinning a story. Yeah, dude. Exactly. Glitch Dash is 100% right. Anybody that's got the fucking money to be calling themselves a millionaire ain't got time to be fucking spinning their wheels in the mud on a fucking zero account fucking YouTube stream off in the no algorithm hellhole. You know, like that is not where they're spending their time. They might be doing something that's fundamentally not that productive, but I guarantee you it's a hell of a lot more fun than camping out somebody's chat, you know? They're smoking a blunt and fucking watching a movie. They're doing a rail of coke and partying with strippers. They're in a business meeting. They're sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Poor folk have poor ways. And as a poor folk, I can tell you that scrolling through YouTube lives and vertical streams and the shorts fucking feed, that's po folk behavior. Rich folk don't be doing that shit. Not truly rich people. And there are all kinds of people. Let me clear up a misconception among some people as well. This will help, I think, bring some clarity to this issue. Because you might be listening and you might be thinking of yourself as a rich person, or you might be thinking of someone in your family as a rich person. There are all kinds of people who consider themselves millionaires who aren't actually millionaires. All kinds of people who consider themselves that without actually being that. Because what they do is they consider all of the cumulative value of all of their assets in combination with their liquid, and that is how they arrive at that, you know, million plus number. So they take the value of their house, and let's say they've got a pretty nice house. Maybe they do. So they've got a really nice house that they bought for, say, 150 grand, and they still owe 100 grand on it, but they've got but now the house is worth 250 grand, right? Now the house appraises for 250 grand. Or let's round up and say it appraises for 300 grand with how high the fucking housing marketplace has gotten, right? So they still owe 100 grand. So that's only $200,000 worth of net worth, right? But you take that $200,000, combine it with a 401k that's got 100 grand in it, and now you've got 300 grand. And then you combine that with this person's stake in their business, and that is estimated at a $500,000 value or something like that. And now you're getting to the bulk of the fucking amount, and now you're up to 800 grand. And then the other 200 grand is made up of the really nice musical instruments that they've got in their house, and the really nice cars that they've got sitting out in the driveway, and their fleet of 5 different trucks that they use at their company, or like their shop or whatever, you know, like the place of business that they own or that they've got an ownership stake in or whatever. And then by combining all of those assets, they arrive at a number that's somewhere over $1 million. That is not a millionaire. That is a fucking working class person who has been able to find the rarest fucking animal on the planet, which is a middle class life. That is somebody that has managed to scrape their way into the last remnants of the middle class. That is not a fucking bourgeoisie millionaire kind of person. They might have $1 million in value with all of their assets, but they don't have $1 million. You know what I mean? They would have to take out a cumulative loan with everything they own as collateral in order to have $1 million to spend. I want him to retell the Vampire Mansion / orgy story someday. I wonder why he hasn't. That's been an ancient fucking it was ancient back when that story fucking got told. You know, like the was in office. What's the deal? When I asked the dude why he was here, he said he was bored and the market is closed. The market is never closed. I mean, isn't the market like? I mean, doesn't the market actually close though? I thought the market closed at like 5 or whatever. Like, I know you can still trade technically online and shit, but none of those trades go through until the next market open, right? Also, if you're bored and rich and have money to spend, why not use that money to entertain yourself? Definitely had the vibes of a troll trying to LARP as a millionaire. That's exactly the impression I got as well, Merrick. Exactly the impression I got as well. That was literally just a YouTube troll that thought that they could get one over on me and make better arguments than I could by LARPing as a fucking millionaire. And I'll be honest, I didn't make my arguments that well. You know, I'm pretty tired, it's been a long day, and I really don't have the energy to sit and make the fucking capitalism is bad argument to somebody who I know fucking gets it. And that's what gets in my way 9 times out of 10. I will realize halfway through saying a sentence, this person knows this. I am arguing with someone who is being willfully ignorant. And that, to me, that is so annoying for me to run into. I hate someone who is willfully ignorant. I love it when somebody just doesn't understand, right? I love it when somebody just genuinely doesn't get it. And then you explain it to them and they're like, oh, huh. Even if they don't instantly come away with the right position, you know, it's nice even when they're just like, huh, I never really thought about that. And then you can tell they just kind of like, they go away from the conversation with a different outlook on things. And they're at least thinking about the issue now, you know? I love that kind of conversation. But that's not what was going to happen between me and this person, right? They wanted to get one over, and they thought that was the best way to do it. I mean, I'm not a day trader. My understanding is the market might close, but it's never truly closed. But what do I know? Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just a fucking internet dork, so what the fuck do I know, honestly? Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that, like, you can't actively trade when the market is closed. And maybe that's what that person meant. But once again, it's just such an indictment of everything that they were saying, because they were trying to give us all the pull yourself up by your bootstraps rhetoric, and then we find out that they don't have bootstraps, that they were not a fucking. We find out that that they have bootstraps. We find out that they had the ability to climb up. Right? We like. It's retarded. Not only that, but somebody acting like they're gonna, like somebody spitting out all this bootstraps rhetoric that then turns around and reveals themselves as a day trader has just undermined all of their fucking arguments. Because by the time you get to the point where you've got enough money to be making money off of day trading, you're not working for your fucking money. Not work. Looking at the market and coming up with an algorithm. I mean, I guess that part might be work, but letting that algorithm run, or following the fucking advice of your money manager to do this and make that trade and this, that, and the other thing, or hiring somebody to do that and sitting on your fucking fat ass enjoying a Mai Tai and tanning yourself is not working. Just because you're passively generating income does not mean you're fucking working. This more closely qualifies as work than that. It's just high-powered gambling, 100%. Going back on a former topic, yeah, 100%. Go ahead. But yes, it is just high-powered gambling. It's gambling with people's real fucking lives, though. That's the fucked up thing. That's the fucked up thing. For me and you, the stock market is our fucking 401ks. For me and you, the stock market is what our home equity is tied up in. Like, if the stock market crashes, the housing market crashes, and then everybody's ass out, you know. But for rich people, it doesn't matter. For rich people, there is no stock market crash big enough that they can be fucking made impoverished. So to them, it's just a fucking opportunity to make even more money. So they take a bunch of the money that they've invested in other things, that they've invested in non-liquid assets, and assets that aren't as subject to the whims of the stock market. And now that the stock market's in a slump, they liquidate a bunch of those fucking like non-tethered assets, and they buy up a bunch of stock. And then when the fucking stock market recovers, they've just made a shit ton of money. They've just made a shit ton of money. And the money that they, quote unquote, lost, they've made that back too. Because the percentage of their ownership never changed, just the amount that correlated with. And they never had to take out their money. They're not like a poor person that falls back on that money and has to take a fucking bath on it. And that's the fucking thing. That's how you take a bath on stocks, by the way. If anybody's sitting here listening and you've ever wondered, like, how the fuck do people lose money on stocks anyway? Well, that's how, right? That is how you lose money on a stock. If you buy it, say you buy at $1 and you sell at 90 cents, you've lost 10 cents on that transaction. You lost 10 cents there. But if you can afford to let it stay until it's $1.10 and then you get it out, well, you've made 10 cents. And if you then invest that $1.10 and you wait until it's, gained a commensurate amount, now it's $1.20 or whatever, now you've gained 10 more cents, right? And in that way, you can get a lot of money pretty quickly if you have the ability to day trade, things like that. But ultimately, that's why rich people don't end up losing money in the stock market, because even when they're in a situation where technically they should be losing money, they're not actually losing money, because as long as they let it stay there and as long as the stock fucking recovers, they're fine. And like I said, that's how you lose money in the stock market, you know? You haven't lost your money in the stock market until you fucking take it out. So once you put it in, that's it. And it's going to go up or down, compared to what you put in. And as long as the value of it is more than you put in, then hey presto, you've won. But if it's not, then you fucking lost. And poor people have to do that kind of thing. And when a poor person has to take out a little bit of their fucking 401k, or has to take out a little bit of the small stock portfolio that they have, or when a regular working class person has to do that, right? Sure, on a good year, when things are going good in the stock market, yeah, they're probably making some money on that, even though they're kind of hurting themselves in the long run by reducing the amount of principal that can be invested. Still, they are ultimately gaining in that transaction. But if they come upon hard times and take that money out in a bad year where the stock market's in an utter slump, they're not only do they have that they can get out, but they're taking out way more value of it than they would be if they were taking that same amount out of a 401k in a good year where the stock market had been kind and it had expanded a lot, right? I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to explain because I'm not like an accountant or something, but yeah. I wanted to reiterate on the topic of fiction. People may say Rowling wrote more books, but more books does not equal world building / lore. Rowling might be wealthy, but she ultimately just wrote urban fantasy. Urban fantasy that relies a lot on Arthurian literature and Western fantasy. Tolkien wrote the Silmarillion and essentially created the modern concept of fantasy fiction. He created his own mythology, which is more than any other fantasy author last century can say for themselves. P. Lovecraft or Lord Dunsany, but that's a different can of worms. Well, what about Frank Herbert? I don't know. Does he count? I don't know. The only two people I can say maybe come close are Robert Jordan and Frank Herbert. Yeah, Rowling just got lucky. I tend to agree. I agree with Merrick's assessment that it's just urban fantasy. It relies a lot on Arthurian legend, and frankly relies a lot on tropes that were introduced by Tolkien himself, which makes sense. Um, J.R.R. Tolkien and J.K. Rowling do come from the same literary tradition. You know, they're both British novelists, but that's where the similarities end. Tolkien built an entire fucking universe. An entire fucking universe. J.K. Rowling just built a modified version of the regular universe with their own special rules and everything. But that's not what Middle Earth is. I mean, Middle Earth uses. It's almost like. Hmm. Here's a good way to put it that might be listening. You know how the Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask are all built on basically the same engine? A lot of people don't realize that, but it's true. They're all built on basically the same engine. Just the Wind Waker obviously has a more powerful version of it, but it's all the same engine. Um, and I feel like the differences between the real world and the fantasy world of J.K. Rowling and her creation, it's very much like the comparison between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where Majora's Mask is the wizarding world and Ocarina of Time is just the regular world, whereas Wind Waker is like that's like the Tolkien world, where um, you take all of these assets, right, that the regular world provided, Ocarina of Time, right, and you use them to create something completely new. You take this framework, right, you take this framework of basic ideas and concepts, and you use that to weave an entirely new fucking world, an entirely new world. Whereas Majora's Mask, or in this case, the Wizarding World, just kind of takes like all of the existing models and everything and appends new powers to them, modifies them a little bit, gives them a new story, gives them a different setting, but ultimately the world remains the same. The cultures are very much the same. The ideals are very much the same. No, well, I guess you have a point. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, there are a few others that compare, but I agree. J.K. Rowling's not among them. I wonder how much better HP would be if it was written better and more innovation. Ooh, that's a fucking hot take. That's a fucking hot take. Honestly, yes, Frank Herbert is pretty original. Robert Jordan, I like, but some of his stuff is a bit long-winded for me. I'm just getting caught up in semantics at this point. That's the same impression that I've gotten from talking to my dad about his Robert Jordan obsession and what limited bit of reading I've done myself, and even just watching The Wheel of Time. Honestly, it rings of it rings of arduous, very detailed and labored storytelling, which is not my favorite type of storytelling. Long-windedness. Obviously, you have to like a little bit of it in order to appreciate Tolkien's work, but I am not such a giant fan of it that I can get behind every fucking bit of his bibliography. I'll put it this way. This conversation got started earlier this evening discussing Star Wars. This thought/saying is not my own. Let me see here. George Lucas created a story and built a universe around it. Tolkien created a universe and decided to tell one story within it. Yeah. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah. Huh. You're not wrong now that I think about it. The Star Wars world is expansive, and the universe that is created with it is interesting, right? And provides like a wide of settings and calls for the viewer to imagine it. But that's almost kind of its biggest failing too, in terms of world building quality in general. If you're comparing it to Lord of the Rings, Because with Lord of the Rings, there are plenty of things that are kind of left to your imagination, but it's all within a framework that's given to you by Tolkien, a pretty rigid framework. Like, this event happened at this time, and that's correlated by this, and that thing, and this thing exists because of this thing and the other thing that happened. And within those events and within those recollections that are sometimes vague or left open to the reader's interpretation, within those different events, there's interpretation available. There's imagination that fills in the gaps. But those gaps are much smaller than they are in a work like Star Wars, where so much of the world relies on the implication, right? You think about it, so much of the world building in Star Wars is built around the implication of greater and more complicated life over that way, you know? Whereas Lord of the Rings actually explores those different forms of life. And I mean, the journey that the heroes go on, that the Fellowship of the Ring goes on throughout the story of the Lord of the Rings, is a story of discovering all of these different life forms and all of these different settings and all of these different ways of living and being. And you really get a taste for kind of like these different groups of people's history and these different settings kind of histories as well. I wish I could cite my source for that statement. I wish you knew who said that as well. It's such a poignant way to put it. If you read the Silmarillion, you begin to realize that The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are just pieces of a grander story. Oh yeah. Well, I think an intelligent and adept reader probably pieces that together all by themselves. I know I never read the Silmarillion, or at least I never completed it. I started reading it, but it became very, very tedious to me. I want to try it again now that I'm older, but honestly, I just remember being fucking... I'm intimidated by it, honestly, because the smallest print and least line spacing version I could find is still this thick. It's still a book that you could murder somebody with, you know? So I'm just like intimidated by the idea of reading it. It almost seems like reading the Bible again. Tolkien quite literally wrote a mythology that could have been established as a new religion. Oh yeah, I 100%. I agree with you entirely. Yeah. It's something to be reckoned with in terms of accomplishment. There's not really a single other... His like does not exist on this planet. Let's just put it that way. As far as I know, his like has yet to be born on this planet. There have been plenty of creators that have done wonderful world building. Plenty of creators who have developed profound mythologies to go along with the works that they create, but none of them have gone to even a third of the length that Tolkien did to establishing that mythology, establishing the stories within it. I mean, and it's so inspiring, honestly. The sheer amount of creativity that Tolkien to pour into this work, into this series of works, this collection of works, is awe-inspiring. Yeah, the Silmarillion is a bit much. It could be the new Bible. That's why whenever people come in here asking, have you read the Bible, I want to ask the Silmarillion. Yeah, dude, that would be a good idea. But the thing that gets me about the people who come in here asking me if I've read the Bible, most of them fucking read a passage or two every night, or they'll sit and read like a chapter of it. And maybe they get through the whole Bible after like 2 years. But it takes them like 2 fucking years of reading through the Bible to finally get through the whole fucking Bible. Although, I will tell you this much. There are read the Bible in a year reading guides by which you read from this page to this page, and, hey presto, if you just follow the guide, you will have read the Bible within a year. But, whew, that's a lot of fucking reading, my friends. It's a shit ton of reading for what ultimately amounts to a Bronze Age myth. I'm going to put out one last call for Super Chats. If anybody wants to donate one of those before I get off of here, I'm going to set like a 30-minute timer. I've got about 30 minutes left before I'm going to be too tired to continue and way too tired to be energetic. So if you haven't liked the stream up to this point, please consider hitting that like button, because it's the best way to make sure that the stream gets seen by as many people as possible, which is probably not going to happen now that it's so late, but it's still worth trying, right? No! Fuck. Fucking Butterfingers McGee, that's me. Tolkien was also a literary professor, and I think he assumed everyone else has read the Norse sagas, and the Silmarillion is not entirely original. It borrows a lot of concepts from the Norse myths. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I became obsessed with Tolkien when I was a kid. Not necessarily a kid, but like a tween and then a teen, right? I became obsessed with Tolkien because I think correctly recognized Lord of the Rings as the best book I was ever going to read. And I wanted to know everything about the guy who wrote it. So I listened to all kinds of interviews of his. I read all kinds of transcripts of interviews of his that hadn't been uploaded or released. As far as like the audio recording versions or whatever. I did every bit of research I could into Tolkien. And one of the things I discovered was that a lot of his work is not truly original. And that's kind of the magic of Tolkien, is that he managed to take all of these tropes and these well-worn stories and turn them into something that is new, that is recognizable as those things in hindsight, right? People can make the comparisons now. They can see how, yeah, this is the hero's journey, and how, yeah, this does kind of like follow the same sort of path as Beowulf, doesn't it? And they can see these connections now, but it's not something that would come to your mind. It's not something that would come to your mind unless you'd read Beowulf and then read Lord of the Rings. If you just come to Lord of the Rings, even if you've heard of Beowulf, it's not going to be your first thought. It does it so artfully. It so artfully remakes some of these tropes and habits and narrative that it's hard to notice the sources from which Tolkien was inspired. Yep. I believe to this day his translations are still used academically, right? The main takeaway is nothing is truly original. Nothing is made in a vacuum. It's how you present it. 100%. 100%, Mary. I believe it was Shakespeare who said every story under the sun has already been told, or something like that. And I think to non-creatives, it maybe sounds like a challenge or a lamentation, maybe, but I think to a creative person, they recognize it for the truth that it is, that it's actually a kind of freeing thing. Don't worry about the fact that don't worry. Everybody fucking already knows it's not original. Everybody that's smart enough to think about the idea of originality is probably smart enough to realize that originality is kind of a bogus concept as long as you're not outright copying somebody's idea word for word or copying it with minimal modification, right? And in my opinion, that's just as much an honesty and anti-plagiarism stance as it is a please be creative kind of stance. Because look at what Tolkien did. He didn't rip anybody off directly, but he took from all kinds of different fucking sources when it came to assembling the mythos that he built for Middle Earth, right? When it came to assembling the mythos that he built for Arda and the world of Middle Earth, he was so fucking creative in the way that he took these inspirational things and morphed them into something that was completely unrecognizable as having come from those original sources. So it is perfectly okay to be inspired by something. It is perfectly okay to say, you know what, this story really needs retold. And that's one of the most well-worn fucking tropes in human storytelling, honestly, is taking an old parable and making it modern. And it happens all the time. Like, there are all kinds of, I'm trying to think of the common example. There is some literary story, I can't remember what it is, but there's some kind of fable. I don't remember what fable it is, but there's some kind of fable that factors heavily into a whole bunch of movies. And I can't remember what it is. But it's like retold in a million different ways. Maybe Miracle No. They're probably the most literary person I know off the top of the bat. A good artist borrows, a great artist steals. Yeah, exactly. A bit of a misnomer / mistranslation, but it rings true at times. Actually, no, his translation of Beowulf was not used much. Most translations of Beowulf were transcripts of Seamus Henry. Oh, neat. Huh. Damn it, I wish I could remember what fucking story that is. Oh, wait. Is it the Odyssey? Okay, Merrick, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Is that not based on the Odyssey? Yeah, I believe so. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Homer's Odyssey like the basis for a whole bunch of movies, not just that one? Isn't it like borrowed from for a whole bunch of movies? Because I remember reading somewhere that if you want to look at what specific story has been repeated the most times and reiterated on the most times in human history, it's Homer's Odyssey. I remember that somewhere, but maybe that's wrong. Yes? Yeah. Yeah. Homer's Odyssey. Now that I've gotten some provenance on this, yeah, I'll talk about it with uh, the authority of memory, I guess, which is to say not very much. But Homer's Odyssey factors heavily into a whole bunch of fucking films. And it's, like I said just a second ago, it's been said that it's like one of the most reiterated stories in human history. And that is how storytelling works. Folk music is a good example of this, right? Folk music works like this too. Um, for example, there's a song called "The Patriot Game," right? And I can't remember the fucking words because I just started learning it the other day. But trying to remember the melody. Damn it. Okay, well, I'll just use a different fucking example. So there's a song called Skibbereen, which is an old Irish folk song. Goes like, "Oh, Father dear, and I often hear you speak of Erin's Isle." And it doesn't quite. It's usually sang way more slowly than that. It's a very plodding song for an Irish song. It's normally sung like, "Oh, Father dear, and I often hear you speak of Erin's Isle. Her lofty scenes, her valleys green, her mountains rude and wild." And that song, right, as is so common and in as an extension of that folk music tradition, that song got reiterated by a likely not, like, who knows, who the fuck knows, but it was probably an Australian prison colonist, right? Maybe it was the titular Jim Jones of the song. Maybe it was somebody who just wanted to use that as the name because they knew it would be a good name that would work well with the song. Who knows? But that one uses the same exact melody, but it's "Listen for a moment, lads, and hear me tell my tale. How o'er the sea from England's shore I was condemned to sail." You know? And if I wanted to rewrite that song to be about something completely new, if I wanted to write that song about the exodus of trans people out of the South, for example, I could do that, and it would be well within my rights to do so. I would be following in a long line of folk musicians who have heard a good melody and have appended new words to it. And that is the same fucking thing, fundamentally, that happens in literary tradition when a story gets retold and recontextualized and reiterated upon time and time and time again. Ultimately, all you're doing is adding to the legend of that story. You're adding to the prestige of that story. The Odyssey is basically the blueprint for almost every modern story, or at least every epic story. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Merrick. I knew you'd be the right chatter to have for this conversation. I knew it. A lot of what you're referring to can be applied to Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, or The Hero with a Thousand Faces. He basically wrote the book on observing comparative mythology and human culture. I'm going to have to read it. I'm definitely going to have to read it. For life, Jim Jones, I sentence you across the stormy sea. Now take my tip before you ship to join the Iron Gang. Don't be too gay in Botany Bay, or else you'll surely hang. Or else you'll surely hang, says he, and after that Jim Jones, while high upon the gallows tree, the crows will pick your bones. You'll have no chance for mischief there, remember what I say. The flock, the poaching out of you out there in Botany Bay. The winds were high upon the sea, the winds they came in gales. But I'd rather drown in misery than go to New South Wales. The wind was high upon the ship when the pirates came along. But the soldiers on our convict ship were 500 strong. They opened fire and somehow drove that pirate ship away. I'd rather join those buccaneers than go to Botany Bay. And one dark night, and one dark night, and one dark night, when all is clear and quiet in the town, I'll kill you bastards one and all, I'll gun your floggers down. I'll give them all a little lead, remember what I say. You sent Jim Jones in chains to Botany Bay. I would say I've got a pretty wide range. For example, 2001: A Space Odyssey has often been compared to or described as being the sci-fi version of Homer's Odyssey. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so basically any fucking epic story is gonna have Homer's Odyssey as an element of its fucking telling. Not any, but most. And that is just one example of the massive fucking influence that literature from 1,000 fucking years ago, 2,000 years ago, that's fucking ancient literature. We're talking ancient fucking literature, and it's still affecting shit to this day. Timeless fucking stories never die. They just get retold in ways that are more relatable to the modern audience. I will say that again. Timeless stories never die. They simply get retold for the benefit of the modern audience. We really went down a rabbit hole tonight. I know. I'm shocked we even have 6 people still listening to us bantering about this back and forth, Merrick, but I'm happy, I don't know, $5 isn't bad for super chat numbers, and I feel like the conversation has been pretty lively, Yep, the Odyssey is probably the most retold story in human history. That's what I was saying earlier. And to me, that's kind of like a hedge against getting caught up in the idea that, well, somebody's done this before, or if you're like me, if you're a folk musician, I used to struggle a lot. I'm not struggling with it so much anymore, but I used to struggle a lot with the idea of rewriting some of these old folk songs that I think have really wonderful tunes. But for some reason, at some point in the last 50 years, it became verboten among a certain fucking group of the folk community to rewrite old folk songs. Oh, you're not supposed to rewrite the old folk songs. They're old folk standards. You're supposed to keep them the way they are. Well, that doesn't take into account what folk music is. Folk music is not supposed to be just the old standards, and it's not supposed to be stuck in time. It's folk music is music of the people. That's what it means. It's the music that you make when you're sitting around the campfire and you need something to fucking sing about, but you need something that's going to relate to the people sitting around the fucking campfire, or you need something that's going to make people laugh or make people think. That's what folk music is. It's not meant to be. It's fucking endless Woody Guthrie albums from the 30s. Are you kidding me? That's great. It has its place, and it's great to know, where to start from. But it's up to us as modern folk musicians to continue that tradition of rewriting the classics so that they make sense to people's ears and sensibilities in the modern day. You know what? I think I might have found my musical calling again. I'm going to start rewriting some of these old folk songs, and I'm not going to be ashamed about it either. God damn it. It's supposed to be what happens. These songs were written to be permanent. They were written to be modified as people needed them to be. Brought to new modern standards. That's what folk music is meant to be. It's meant to be transient. It's meant to be living. It's meant to be dynamic. But have you read the Bible? The Holy Bible. I know, right? This intense, deep conversation we've had about all these wonderful fucking, like, think about the fucking in-depth conversation we've had about literature and and books and shit, right? Think about that. And then think about all the people that want us to reduce their entire fucking literary consumption to one book. Isn't that sad? Those people will never have a rewarding conversation about Tolkien. They'll never talk about the effects that Homer's Odyssey had on the development of modern human fiction, or the implications that that has on retelling old stories or rewriting folk music. Those sorts of topics are verboten to them because they live a life that is centered around a book that demands of them loyalty to that one idea. I'm talking Christians who choose to live by those lights. I realize not every Christian falls under this banner, but you get my drift. Like, yeah, I get it. I can't rewrite a fucking rock song, whatever. That's not the fucking rock tradition. But you know what? The folk tradition is to rewrite old fucking songs. And by gum, I'm going to do it. Human history is just an iteration of the meme with the astronauts holding a gun to the head of the other of another astronaut. Blank has always been blank. Always has. Yep. Yep. Dude. Dude. I love it. It's one of those things that once you realize it, it's very freeing. It's very fucking freeing. In fact, it's almost encouraging because it's almost like, ooh. Because, like, I feel like the way even though the West movie tradition and the Western narrative tradition, so many examples of this one specific kind of narrative structure playing out. Oh, I think one of the cats would be right outside. Kitty, 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 kitty. Come on. Get back. Come on. Meow. Come on, kitty. Come on, Beans. Ha. Got you both back in, bitches. Have me now that I've outsmarted you. You think you are so smart, but you're just fucking cute. How do you like me now? How do you like me now? How do you like me now? Never on my way. But seriously, Phoebes, read the Bible or whatever. Why do you want me to read the Bible, Merrick? I don't want to read the Bible again. It's boring. Literally. It's the most tedious fucking bit of literature in the entire fucking Western canon. Dude. This fucking pile of shit in the entire goddamn tired ass Western canon. And I gotta tell you, there are a shit ton of classics in the West. They're tedious motherfuckers. The Bible outstrips every single one of them. If there's a God, there's no way that's the fucking faithful representation of his word. I refuse. He would not have written something so fucking, like, uncaptivatingly boring. I refuse to believe that the Holy Father of the entire universe wrote a book that you have to fucking force yourself to sit through. Like, I refuse. There ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way. Ain't a goddamn way on the planet, bro. No, I call bullshit on that idea. It's incredibly freeing. In a sense, you realize that because you can't be original, you no longer have to be. No one lives in a vacuum. Exactly, Merrick. It frees you to be the unoriginal, borrowing, stealing, fucking plagiarizing, fucking crazy motherfucker that we all are at heart. No, I still think that there's something to be said about actually plagiarizing, but that's why that's why fair use dictates that you have to make something original out of it. And I think that sort of concept applies culturally as well. It's like, in order for someone to take your retelling of the Odyssey seriously, you either have to literally retell the story and make it clear that that's what you're doing, or you have to do it in a subtle way, where people that are in the know, people that have read the Odyssey, are going to see the comparisons right away. They're going to see the fucking, they're going to see the blindfolded guy, or the dude who's lost an eye, as the Cyclops, right? And they're going to make those comparisons, but fuck, I forgot where I was going with that. Fuck. I'm being facetious. Okay, cool. Read the Bible. It's so original, so unique. It's really not, though. That's the fucked up thing about it. I mean, I guess it's unique in the sense that it's not like a carbon copy of any other specific religious text, but it's not that original, It's like plenty of fucking, like, the flood myth is something that's shared. Christians will tout this all the time, too. So it's a fact. No, I'm just kidding. But flood myths abound in all kinds of mythologies. All kinds of mythologies have big old flood myths. All kinds of fucking... All kinds of fucking... all kinds of cultures have talking animals as a part of their myths. All kinds of cultures have triune gods or multifaceted gods. Like, the comparisons are to be made, and the idea that the Bible is this fucking incredibly unique document that needs to be preserved as like utterly unforgettable literature is just kind of absurd. I do think that we can learn from the Bible, though, because this culture was shaped immensely by the pursuits of people who felt that they were informed in one way or another by the Bible. Whether they were or not, I think that probably varies from individual to individual, but I think that alone proves that this book has had an immense effect on our society, regardless of whether or not the things inside it are true. So I think it deserves study. I think it deserves intense study, but from the standpoint of, this is a mythological text. This is a mythological text that is being studied for the value and the demerits that it has foisted upon Western society and society at large. Like, what are the positive effects? What are the negative effects? What are the innocuous effects? What are the things we're still fighting? What are the ways that it continues to alter life? I think a critical examination of the Bible and Christianity by the children of this country would be fucking incredible. I think it would change the face of the nation's politics. You know, um, I was. Huh, I was watching a Michael Moore documentary earlier today, and it's called "Where to Invade Next," and it was kind of infuriating, honestly. The Bible. I know, right? I'm surprised you thought I'd be serious after that whole conversation, but that's the great flaw when it comes to communicating via text. Yeah, no, for sure. Can't read the body language and all that, right? The flood myth is a huge part of Gilgamesh, the Norse sagas, Hindu mythology. I feel like I'm just being a broken record at this point. Yeah, exactly. All stories are fucking told over and over again, whether it comes to what we consider sacred stories or to less sacred stories. And sometimes sacred stories are inspired by sometimes secular stories are inspired by sacred stories. And that's just the great interchange of narrative, right? It's the great interchange of human fucking narrative. That's why that's why people say that's why English teachers try to impress upon their students the pen is mightier than the sword, because it is. Used properly, the pen will always be mightier than the sword. Bear in mind that Henry Kissinger didn't wield actual power for that much of his life. And yet, his policy prescriptions have been like so fucking intrinsic to so many of the bad decisions that this country has made, and so many of the decisions that this country has made purely on the back of its own self-interest and shit. Have a good night, Phoebes. I'll have to call it here. Adieu. Oh man, the minute I bring up Kissinger, you're gone. No, I'm just kidding. Alrighty. Good night, Mary. It was fun. It was fun. These late night streams are always weird because the first hour and a half is usually pretty well attended, and then the last hour and a half is like, you know. I'm sure as the channel gets bigger, that'll be less of an issue. But if I'm seeing like between 10 and 20 people hanging out, usually towards the end of a stream at like almost 3K subs, then I'll probably be seeing like, and see at 10K, I would be seeing like maybe 60, 50 or 60, which I guess is a pretty decent amount. Yeah. I think if I can make it to 10,000 subs, I'll be doing okay. Alrighty, I'm gonna go because I gotta go to bed. I'm tired. Good night, y'all.